Всем привет, дорогие друзья! С вами Александр. И сегодня мы продолжаем делать упражнения на времена английского глагола. Очень много было упражнений без теории. Но до этого было еще больше теории без каких-либо упражнений. Так что продолжаем. Так, the ass, the sack of salt. Все знают, как переводится слово ass, но второе значение – это слово осел. Так, so let's start. Ass was carrying a large sack of salt, which his master placed on his back. Came to the stream over which there was a bridge. Is it like this? Scaring. Had placed came to a stream which there was a bridge. Okay, as he crossed the bridge, he slipped and fell into the stream. Was crossing the bridge, he slipped and fell into the stream. The salt melted in the water. The salt has melted in the water, and the ass was glad that his sack became so light. Melted in the water, and the ass was glad that his sack had become so light. The next day, the ass crossed the bridge with another bag of salt. Was crossing the bridge with another bag of salt. He remembered what happened the day before. So he fell into the stream on purpose and stayed there until the salt melted. Remember what happened the day before, fell into the stream on purpose and stayed there until the salt melted, or had melted. After he had done the same thing a third time, his mother decided to cure the lazy animal and his tricks. He had done the same thing a third time as he decided to cure the lazy animal of his tricks. He filled the bag with sponges and tied it on this ass's back. When the ass came to the stream, he plunged into the water at once, expecting that the bag became still lighter. Still lighter. I was, however, greatly disappointed when a few minutes later he has found that the bag was 10 times heavier than it had been before. A few minutes later, found that the bag was 10 times heavier than it had been before. Now, Wang the miller to goldsmith. When the miller was very avaricious, nobody loved money more than he, and he respected only those who was rich. Money more than he, and he respected only those who were rich. When people talked to a rich man, Wang always said, "I know him very well." He and I were friends since childhood. But when people mentioned a poor man, I always said that he doesn't know him and never heard his name before, as he hadn't one of many acquaintances. We were friends since childhood. We did not know him, never heard his name before, we were not fond of many acquaintances. One day, as he thought how to increase his wealth, he has known that one of his neighbors, Hans by name, has found a large pot of gold on the ground. They had dreamed of it 3 nights running. large pot of rolling ground that had rained in its 3 nights running. The greedy miller greatly envied his neighbors alike, was complaining every day to his customer that he was unlucky, saying, "I've been walking from morning until night for so many years and never find any girls." Complained every day, even walking from I basically dream like my neighbor. At last, he dreamed one night that under a certain part of the wall of the mirror was a huge pot of gold. Under a certain part of the wall of the mirror there was a huge pot of gold. And dreamed to dream in the same pot of money for 2 succeeding nights. So was sure that he has found the treasure in the place that he saw it in his dreams. The succeeding nights, as if for sure he would find treasure in the place where he had seen it in his dreams. So he got up early in the 3rd morning, went the middle down with a spade in his hand, began to dig under the corner of the wall. He had been digging for 3 hours when at last his spade struck a broad flat stone, so large that he couldn't remove it. He decided that he would go home, tell his wife everything, and ask her to help him. So he ran home and told his wife of his dream, the treasure that was waiting for them under the stone. They both ran back to the place where Wang was digging and found that the mill, which Wang undermined by digging, fell and lied ruins. Had fallen was lying in ruins. And that's a very interesting story, let's say. Okay, now the next part will be the story of the death of a hero. Adapted from Simon's novel, The 1890s. Captain Sabur had been sleeping about an hour when the telephone operator was awoken him. It was still quite dark and he did not know what time it was. Jumping down from his bed, he ran to the telephone. Captain Sabur speaking. This is General Bartenko. Go out, listen. Wake up your man and tell them to listen too. Sabur ran out of the dugout in the snow. They were destroyed. Suddenly, go out, listen, wake up your man, tell them to listen to. Ran out of the dugout, it was snowing. For a minute or two, they didn't hear anything. Then his ear caught the sound of a distant roar of guns. We did not hear anything, but his ears caught the sound of a distant roar of guns. The guns was about 25 miles from where he was, and the ground was trembling as if an earthquake shaking it. Sabura turned to the soldier who was standing nearby. Can you hear anything? Of course I can, comrade Captain. Our guns are firing. They fire. Are they firing long? Have they been firing long? I've been listening to them for about an hour, said the soldier. An hour later, everybody had known that the Soviet troops were passing Stalingrad to the north and south and encircling the Germans. Had bypassed Stalingrad to the north and south and had encircled the Germans. Everybody wanted to do something to help the Soviet troops in the re-offensive. Captain Sobrov asked the divisional commander to allow him to make a night attack in a building which the Germans occupied just in front of his lines. No, but just in front of his lines. The Germans saw that they could have completely the area occupied by Sobrov and did not expect an attack. Night attack began at a quarter past one. Began at a quarter past one. The Russians captured the building and then prepared to defend it against German counterattacks. Saburov and his friend Lieutenant Maslenikov were lying side by side in the window of a cellar just on the level with the ground. This word lieutenant is read by lieutenant. Side by side in window, cellar just on the level with the ground. They had seen some German soldiers enter the cellar further hill. They found the wall. They saw some German soldiers. They had found in the wall. The Germans were passing. Saburov had opened fire with his Tommy gun. After he used up all the ammunition he threw, surrounding his gun at a German who was passing with such force that he fell forward in his face. Had used up all this ammunition. There is Tommy gun at a German who was passing with such force that he fell forward in his face. At that moment, another German soldier had lifted a gun over Saburov. Maslenikov jumped at the German, and both of them fell on the ground and rolled over and over. Saburov chanced to himself on his feet, and he had some revolver shots and saw that German version of Maslennikov's body. Shots on the German version of Maslennikov's body. He had seized Tomagan, which was lying on the ground, and hit the German several times in the head with all of his strength. know his friend. Just then, some Soviet soldiers rushed into the cellar and told him that the Germans have retreated. They're retreating, they're retreating. Several dropped down, signed Masnikov and said his friend was dead. Sent for the separatists and ordered them to dig a grave for Masnikov. As soon as it became light, as it was light, and he could see the face of his friend, then saving handed over Masnikov and took his necklace and medals. Salute of free volleys was fired from the grave of the hero. Sounds of gunfire, and from the west, where Soviet troops and then closed over around 300,000 Germans. 300,000. Becoming closing the ring. So that's it. Now I have to translate this into the English, as we had already done a lot of work. Yeah, that's another heroical story was. All right. Tomorrow this time we will be closing London. We shall be approaching London. Has left us around 1955 and has been living there since. He had been working on that plan for 5 years when the war broke out. 10 years when the war broke out. Not 10.5, but 5. We came home when the sun was still shining. Everybody will have gone to sleep at that time. We return. Everybody will already have gone to bed by the time we return. Close the door. It's been raining. It rains and it's got very cold. Has become very cold. The weather has greatly changed since yesterday. When I entered, he put down his book, which she was reading, on the table and stood up to greet me. The book on the table stood up to greet me. He won't do any success until he works harder. It was cold as the sun hadn't risen. You have reason. I'll write here after I talk to him. Right after I have spoken to him. Or I should speak to him. I know him for a long time and can definitely say that he is very good people. Yes, man. We've known him for a long time and I can say that he is a very good man. The meeting has already started. Meeting has begun. If he comes after I leave, give him the book which is lying on the table. If he comes after I left, I leave, give him the book that is lying on the table. Yes. This is being very late for several days. And since Monday, there wasn't any steamship to Sukhumi. It has already been rough for a few days, and there has been no ship for Sukhumi since Monday. We shall leave Odessa as soon as it will. As soon as there is a ship. I had been walking for about an hour when finally I'd seen a huge house in front by side of the river. Walking for about an hour when at last I saw a little house near the river. I understood at once that it is that house would reach and extol me. I came to it and knocked. One was sitting by the window and was singing. I just sung. Hearing this knock, she stood up and approached the door. Understood at once that it was the house about which Alex had told me. Went out of the house and knocked. One was sitting at the window and singing. Hearing the knock, she stood up and went to the door. Today I went to the factory to see Mr. Abe, our business affairs. Decided to meet at 3 o'clock. The factory is Mr. Gray on business had arranged to meet at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Yesterday in the evening, I was waiting for a bus on the Neva Prospect. I noticed that a person that was standing by me was looking at me, staring at me. I recognized my friend, with whom I was studying in school. I hadn't seen him since 1985 and was very glad to see him. I was waiting for Mazanevsky. I noticed that the man who was standing near me was looking at me attentively. I recognized my friend with whom I had gone to school. I had not seen him since 1980. I was very glad that I had met him. So, finally, we have completed that great bunch of exercise. I can say that I myself did them absolutely correct, but it has all came past. So I wish you good luck and see you on my next lesson. Всем удачи, всем пока. Пока-пока. Goodbye.